Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your victorious host, Greg Tompsett, and my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, how we doing?
This is awesome, Greg. We talked about this not mattering all that much until it happens the way this happens. Tell the people what we're doing here tonight, Gregory.
Woo! You are joining us because the Buffalo Bills have defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 30-21 in a thrilling, fantastic, well-played game. Both teams threw shots. Both teams had stretches where the defense was playing fantastic. There were a few mistakes by the referees, but in general, they let the teams play.
Yeah.
This was not a game that one team backed into a win they didn't deserve or any backwards nonsense. This was a really, really well-played game. Yeah. Fantastic performance. Back and forth, probably like the playoff preview that it is. But the Buffalo Bills come out on top on a awesome play. We'll do our drive-by-drive performance later, but there's no sense not, talking about it right now. A huge 4th and 2 call at the end of the game. There's, all the way at the very, very end, you have it set up, and the situation is one where an awful lot of teams, including both of the announcers talking during the game, 2 minutes and 17 seconds left, 4th and 2 at the Kansas City 26. The Bills are up by 2. A field goal puts them up by 5. All football history and the conservative history of you should go up by 2 scores. And then we would, of course, watch Mahomes come down the field and have a chance to win the game on a touchdown. Instead, Sean McDermott goes for it, and Josh Allen proves him perfectly right as he rumbles for a 26-yard game-clinching touchdown. One of the most exciting, plays and moments in this run as a Bills fan with this regime. It was unbelievable.
I can't even... we'll get demonetized if I say what came out of my mouth live, even in front of my children. They're like, "Wait, what'd you say, Dad?" And then I was like, "You guys really have no idea how lucky you are to watch this. Like, my children are so spoiled. Children of Buffalo are so spoiled." Greg, has the MVP ever been won on a singular play before? Because I think this is the one, right? Like a 9-0 team coming in, you needed to score a touchdown to win, and to get a touchdown in that particular way, like, it was all Josh Allen, nothing else except for Josh Allen and his just super incredible athleticism, big old country boy oak tree-ness that he has. And the will led to that touchdown and put the Kansas City Chiefs away, gives them their first loss. We will not have an undefeated champion. I don't know in the big scheme of the season what this means or how much it matters, if there's going to be a race for the 1 seed or not. But I think this play absolutely catapults Josh Allen. Statistics aside, like, I know Goff's having a great season. There's other guys having good seasons. This to me,
Lamar was the front runner. And Lamar had a stinker of a game today. At one point, he was 10-27. He ended up 16-33, less than 50% interception.
No
fumble.
Coleman, no Kincaid in this one. People were worried about the weapons. This was Josh Allen putting a team on his back and outperforming the guy that has been the guy that's been ahead of him his whole career. I think this has catapulted him into that conversation. I think that it's such a big, impactful play that everyone's going to be talking about. I think it's going to weigh on those MVP voters.
100%. It's a narrative award. People are going to, you vote for the story that makes the most sense. This was a heroic moment with a huge, like when they talk about the Heisman moment, and when you have those moments where like that just, solidifies in everyone's mind. Now the Bills have a bye and don't play for 2 weeks. So now it's going to be easy for that to be the last play anyone thinks about for a stretch here. But let's talk about a little bit about what happened here. Josh Allen, 27 of 40, 260 yards, a 67% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 0 sacks, which I give Josh an enormous amount of credit for because there were several plays where either Spagnuolo's ridiculous pressures or Chris Jones just being a monster were all over him, and they could not do it. The Curtis Samuel touchdown, we'll talk about that later, where he's backpedaling with 7 guys. They brought 7 people and had pressure in his face. He also ran the ball 12 times for 55 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
One of the most singular performances that he's had as a Buffalo Bill. You talk about the overall meaning of the game, as big as a regular season game can be. It's not a playoff game, but as big as a regular season game can be. He was lights out. He threw an interception on a 4th down where if it's incomplete, we turn it over as well. And it was a miscommunication. He thought Knox was going to keep going. Knox sat down. He threw it to where he thought Knox was going to be able to make a play on the ball. But if he doesn't throw that, it's a turnover anyway. So it's like a Hail Mary interception. Like those are,
the return didn't help it, given them great. Right.
I would have preferred he didn't. He threw it. But what do you want?
Probably
throw it
his
away?
Singular like mistake of the day, and it wasn't a sugar high Josh Allen mistake. Hey, mom. And outside of the stats, like those are great statistics, and it is a singular performance here. But to me, it was the demeanor that Josh Allen had all night. We didn't see that it was too big of a moment. It was just calm and collected. He was in control at the line of scrimmage the entire night, alerting plays consistently, reading that Spagnuolo defense, super tough. Romo talked about it, how it muddies up looks for quarterbacks all the time. It didn't look like there was a couple times where he threw some bad balls into the coverage, but never really putting the ball in danger all that much outside of that one to Knox. And he just seemed in total control, nice and calm the whole game. And even when facing pressure, it wasn't like he was taking off early and getting out of the pocket too early. He was waiting for the pressure to come and then stepping into the pocket, making good reads. But even when he stepped out, looking to throw, it wasn't just putting his head down and trying to run and then running when it was available, slid multiple times, didn't take on too many unnecessary hits. He went airborne once and took a pretty big hit. But other than that, we didn't see a lot of the stuff that traditionally we've seen. And that's really been the story of Josh Allen's year, Greg, is this isn't statistically his greatest season that we've ever seen. He's probably going to be more MVP votes than he's ever had and not hit the statistics he's ever had, but he's matured so much as a quarterback and not being tricked into being sugar high Josh and not making those dumb mistakes over and over again. And so I think the demeanor at which he played and the maturity that we saw from him tonight was the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah, and I think, they talked about the possibility that there was a hand injury, that there was, that he knew what the moment was. He saw how, Mahomes came down the field and scored on their drive towards the end. He knew the gravity of the situation, and it was awesome to see him not only realize that, but rise to the occasion when he had already been playing fantastic football. He had already been in position to, deserve, plenty of credit and the things that come along with it, but to then come out and make it a big time statement game. All kinds of things this puts in play of now KC, the rest of their games matter. If they drop one more, we have the tiebreaker. The Bills get a very much needed late bye. The next time we play them, which I'm going to just go forward with the mindset that we're going to play them again. I know it's obviously not a guarantee. Anybody can lose in the playoffs. Things happen. I'm going to assume we're going to have to play them again. We're going to have Matt Milano, Spencer Brown, Keon Coleman. We're going to have Dalton Kincaid. We're going to have those guys back in a big situation. That's 4 huge players to be able to have. There were limitations on what they could do when you're constantly having to chip and prepare and, just worry about Chris Jones when you have backup tackle in the game. And normally you can use Dawson Knox as that extra piece, but you don't have Dalton Kincaid. So you needed Knox to be able to play. So it was really, really impressive to see.
Real quick before we go to the next position group, because we don't always do it. Kyle Law here making a great point here. The aggressiveness by the Bills offense, and McDermott won the game, took the game into their own hands, didn't let it go. And I want to kind of on top of that, I think McDermott probably had some mistake. The challenge, I think, would be something that people are upset about. I want to honestly say I don't know how much that's on McDermott himself. There's a team involved in that, and they have not been very good.
Yeah,
they've not been great at it in the McDermott era, and that's something I would like to see worked on. But in terms of going for it multiple times, being aggressive in situations, playing man defense a ton, like switching up stuff. Like they really
pressuring Mahomes when like the book
pressure.
says never blitz Mahomes. They sent pressure at him all the time.
Yes,
really
it
smart
was
usage of a spy with Williams.
not a lot of penalties. This was a well-coached football team tonight in a
3
big
penalties
moment
on the
in a
game.
big game.
That's our lowest of the season.
Yeah, big moment, big game, aggressive in spots he wanted to be. Didn't take that field goal early, even when Romo was like, "Oh, I don't know, I take that field goal." Like he went out to win this game, and my hats off to Sean McDermott. He gets so much crap here on the internet. Not tonight. I'm not taking it from anybody.
It's Rage Dog here says picked Mahomes on his first and last throw of the game. 2 interceptions on Mahomes. They were 9 of 15 on third downs. Went
and
for
both
it twice
on
fourth down. Yes.
Yeah.
Just really, really, really well done.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think the bar was pretty low for the run game because of how exceptional KC's run defense is, and I think it did about what you expected. But they did convert on several big plays. So, I know certainly in the Cover One Discord, there's a lot of frustration with the first down runs. The second and long runs were making me crazy. I understand that you're trying not to be one-dimensional. You're trying to set up play action. You're trying to set up later different plays with the motions that they used. And I know it's easy to think that, hey, if we just go wide open all the time, they could just, there is some kind of cat and mouse, chess back and forth of what you're setting up when you're going. But it wasn't a good run day. 31 carries for 105 yards. And the vast majority, more than half, was Josh Allen, which most of those were on scrambles. There was a couple design run calls that were there, several short yardage conversions. So their success rate is going to end up being better because a lot of those runs that were short yards were converting on third and shorts and on fourth and shorts, and they converted on those, plus the touchdown and the 2 James Cook touchdown runs. So those are all successful conversions. So the success rate in run is going to end up being pretty good because they got it when it mattered, even if there were a lot of kind of banging our head against the wall with that front.
Yeah, you got to remain trying. You can't abandon it. You have to try to be physical. It did feel frustrating. What I will say on some of like the first and second down stuff, a lot of that was dictated by Spagnuolo in the defense. You saw the alerts. You saw him alerting into the run play because he was seeing too high looks, and people hate it. But that's a little bit of the cat and mouse game that happens internally.
Josh checks into several of those too.
It has to, that's the rules of the offense. And he talks about all the time in the press conferences is like, hey, we still have to play within our rules. And people might hate that. And the stat geeks might hate that a little bit. But that is the offense. And that is something that is a bit of that cat and mouse game between the defensive coordinator and disguising looks. And you saw a number of times where I think Josh saw something and wasn't totally sure of it. And then it wasn't what he saw and they ran right into it anyway. And Steve Spagnuolo won those reps. He does that to everybody. They're that awesome. Is something that KC does. Really but you can't abandon it. And it also, I know that the data says you don't need to run to set up the play action stuff, but if you abandon it totally, it really isn't as impactful in terms of getting guys to come up, getting them to bite on that stuff. And we saw them hit on a number of play action passes on first downs. It wasn't a go-to every single time, but that Quinn Morris, which it was wide open, they didn't hit on that. The success of, or even the lack of success, but going to those runs early, I believe still sets up your offense to do the things that they do later with the play action.
Yeah, there was just a comment that came up there about the points scored the last 5 games. Yeah, 5 games in a row, 34, 31, 30, 30, 30. This team is performing well. Even, obviously we have one 10-point stinker and a terrible game that got thrown up there, but every other game this year, they're putting up major points and being able to go out there. Maybe not Detroit Lions
points and holding points.
Yes, and holding teams too. Holding KC to 21 is no small feat. Like that's a challenge to be able to do. I love the passing game performance. You knew that you were going to be short. Amari Cooper, 2 huge catches early. Now we get 2 weeks of bye weeks to get him fully up to speed with everything. We're going to get Kincaid and Keon Coleman back coming out of the bye. You have Curtis Samuel, probably his best game as a Buffalo, not even probably, easily his best game as a Buffalo Bill. Several huge first down conversions, an awesome touchdown that was much, much needed. Dawson Knox stepping up with Dalton Kincaid being out 4 catches for 40 yards. Even the passes to the backs, I know it didn't produce a ton, but 5 catches for James Cook, just keeping them honest, taking the checkdowns when they were there. I'm not going to say anything snarky about the Zach Davidson game.
I am.
He came in, he played some nice plays. He got a nice catch on the handful of snaps that he got, but contributed when he was asked to. But ultimately, Khalil Shakir was so clutch in this game. Consistently, the yak plays on the 22-yarder, the huge first down conversion on the touchdown drive where he got crushed. But
how do you hold on to that, Greg?
Oh,
like my spleen hurt watching him get hit.
Was legit like a boxing liver shot. For real, it shook up his innards.
Yeah. I will be a little bit snarky here because when I'm right, Greg, when I'm right, I'm right. And I'm going to let you guys know about it because I'm wrong a lot. And I also will let you guys know when I'm wrong. But I've been right about Khalil Shakir the whole time. He's so legit. He's such a target. And when they finally do get Keon Coleman back healthy and Kincaid, you have Curtis Samuel. And that's another thing I was right about. Early in the season, I was telling people he's hurt. He's not as effective as we thought he would be in the preseason. I get it. It's frustrating. I thought he would come along. I thought he'd be part of this offense. What an awesome additional luxury weapon to have now when you have your full arsenal of weapons. I was right about attacking Kansas City on the outside. We didn't do it as much as I wanted, but Amari Cooper
more in the run game. I would like some more in the run game.
Yeah, but even going to Amari Cooper, knowing that they were down and had McDuffie on the outside a little bit and had Johnson on the outside, that was a good matchup. So I'll take a right there as well, and then I will take a right on Zach Davidson. Was not going to come out and be I'm not nothing against him, but people love to just they want to get out in front first and be like, I said it first, and then two, everyone loves this underdog story, but come on. Let the guy just be what he is, and good for him for getting a call up and being part of the first NFL catch.
Yes, that's cool.
Super cool. But everyone else needs to chill out.
Yeah. So I do love that we didn't show them. I don't know that we showed everything that we could. I think when you have Coleman and Kincaid back, and you don't necessarily need Shakir and Curtis Samuel as much as like the slot receiving weapons. I'd love to see some more jet motion and some of those jet sweeps to get that, to use that. Their not dominance, but winning the line of scrimmage. I think they won the line of scrimmage a great amount. I think that was really, really strong to be able to do. It was, really well done to spread it out the way that they did, utilize what you had there, 7 different guys getting a reception, 9 different guys targeted, just really well distributed. I think the offensive line was solid. They had plays when they needed. That is a ton to ask with a really strong front, especially the front 7 when you add in Chanel and their linebackers and the guys that come in when you're doing that. I will say shout out to Chris F. He pointed out on Josh Allen's touchdown run is probably Osiris Torrance's best rep against Chris Jones the entire day. And I think that is because of their diligence earlier in the game. They had a huge swing, an 8+ minute swing in time of possession. That defense was tired. I don't know that Josh is able to break 4 tackles on a touchdown run at the end if they weren't staying dedicated to those things earlier. So some of those first down runs
on that play.
The second and long runs, it wasn't the most efficiently called game, but some of those things, keeping the clock running, wearing them down, winning time of possession, some of those things I think did pay off a bit later on when you have reps like that where the defensive line was able to get offensive line was able to get some much needed wins. Our defensive line was fresh and able to constantly pressure. I'll get to the defense in a moment here. So I'm going to grade the offensive line as good enough, and that's all that mattered today.
We didn't see the penalties, and that was probably the biggest thing. I didn't expect them to come out and win the trenches on this. At the best, I thought it'd be a draw, and I think it probably was ultimately.
Luckily, offensive line plus Josh Allen was a win.
Yeah, you always do this to me. You put me on the spot. On the 4th and 2 with 2 minutes and 27 seconds left in regulation, Josh Allen dropped back before breaking off 26-yard touchdown run. This is a shout out to Ned Hunt tagging me in this on Next Gen Stats. What was Josh Allen's chances of scoring a touchdown on that play before he tucked to run?
Oh, I love that. 18.4.
1.2% chance of scoring a touchdown once he tucked the ball to run.
1.2? Oh,
MVP,
that's crazy.
Folks. MVP.
Yeah, that is a play where literally that's like Josh Allen and I'll say Lamar Jackson. Like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are like the only two humans who score in that situation in the NFL, who have a chance to score in that situation. That's awesome. Great job, Ned. Love Ned. Ned.
Ned's a great resource.
All right. Switching to the defensive side of the ball. Again, I'm gonna compare it pretty similarly to how I did to the offensive line. This was not a perfect game, but you're playing Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. I was nervous early about the Xavier Worthy touches, and later in the game, he had zero.
Where'd he go?
Literally zero. Yeah. He had 4 on that one drive and then did not touch the ball.
Luckily, he stepped out of bounds on a 30.
The fifth one he did. He got his hand out.
That's twice he's done that too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I won't linger on that. But again, they distributed the ball in maybe the most insane way I've ever seen. Don't look. How many Kansas City Chief receivers caught a football today?
Receivers and tight ends.
How many Kansas City Chiefs players caught a football today? And remember, one of them is that offensive line. So it's the number you're thinking of plus 1. I'll even give you a hint.
11 people. There was a lot
11.
of people. Is it 11
people? I've never heard of 11 before.
Every tight end they had touched the ball.
11
every
people.
Receiver.
Carson Steele, Mike Caliendo, Samaje Perine, Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, Peyton Hendershot, which is the most Madden made-up name ever. I didn't mind him. He was with Dallas, and I didn't mind him in the draft. Mecole Hardman, Noah Gray with his 2 touchdown catches, Justin Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, and Xavier Worthy. 11 Kansas City Chiefs caught a football. That's crazy.
Yeah. You didn't hear a lot from Travis Kelce, right? Like, that's the thing, is a lot of people caught the ball, but nobody...
2 catches for 8 yards for
Worthy
Kelce.
got going early, but nobody took real advantage of him.
DeAndre Hopkins got credit for a catch that he didn't make. It was not a catch.
Yeah. Actually, so did was it Hendershot? One of the tight ends, or Gray, maybe.
I don't know if it was Watson or Gray.
At the end, they should have reviewed that. It was under 2 minutes, and that was not a catch.
Rightfully caught by Romo and Nance saying, "Hey, where are they going to stop it?" And you had the Gene Steratore.
Luckily, there was. We'll get into the drives, but luckily, there's a holding, or I'm screaming about that.
Yes, correct.
All the time.
But beyond that, this was a game where they had, I think, probably the most pressure we've had on Mahomes in any of the matchups I can remember. So it was only 2 sacks, but 7 quarterback hits. And I can't wait to see the pressure stats, but it's got to be, I don't know if it's 15, but I bet you it's like 12 pressures, if not more.
Greg Rousseau earned a lot of money tonight, and it didn't come in the way necessarily of sacks, but he was chasing Mahomes all night long. And somebody that the fan base is giving a really hard time to, Ed Oliver had a great game. I think when we turn back on the film, we are going to see a very disruptive Ed Oliver.
Perfect example. His box score says 1 tackle.
That's Ed Oliver. That's Ed Oliver.
Yeah. He had a phenomenal game. The box score scouts are going to use this one again. He had a great game.
He's been stacking them, man.
Terrell Bernard, 8 tackles, a sack, a tackle for a loss, a pass defense, a quarterback hit, and a game-clinching interception. You could have Josh Allen and Terrell Bernard, both AFC Player of the Weeks, coming up here. Taylor Rapp with a couple huge hits.
The first interception as well.
How about another player that you and I have both been pretty openly critical of? Really, really good Cam Lewis game. Lewis, they played more 3 safety reps than we had seen in quite a while. He and Dorian Williams were platooning in a way that we hadn't seen them do with Dorian Williams recently. And Cam Lewis made some huge plays, was in the right spot consistently, was not getting lost when you have a guy like Xavier Worthy, which is really dangerous when you're in there as a third safety. And we don't have like a traditional center fielder in the, in what we were used to in the peak years. So having guys we don't have anybody who's a speedster who's going to like go step for step with Xavier Worthy. And the fact that Cam Lewis flashed for me several times positively and maybe 0 times negatively was really, really encouraging. And I will say, similar to how offensive linemen you think about them, oftentimes safeties are similar. I don't remember DeMar Hamlin, which means he didn't make me mad the entire game. Like, he did his job, was in position. He had one really nice play that he technically missed the tackle, but he kind of blew it up and then was holding onto the ankle. And as they broke away, other guys were there to do it, to make it up. So he stop the progress to make it I don't think it was a tackle for a loss, but probably at the line of scrimmage because he came flying up. So I don't, Rasul Douglas is never going to look awesome when he's asked to chase a crosser like Xavier Worthy like that. But I don't know that anybody stood out terribly negative. Maybe Jordan Phillips. I wouldn't mind if Jordan Phillips doesn't play much anymore.
I think Taron Johnson had some reps he probably wants back in this game. It wasn't his best game. He still made a number of good plays. Rasul probably wants that red zone one back on the touchdown to the tight end. He probably
I don't know who. There was a handoff issue there. There was a couple guys pointing at each other. Same thing. Terrell Bernard and Taryn were pointing at each other.
Terrell Bernard was pissed. That wasn't just pointing. He was
real mad at Taron Johnson on the. I think that was the Noah.
There was a miscommunication. Touchdown. You saw Terrell. I don't know what he was trying to signal. I think he was signaling to like shift him over, and Taryn didn't get it. But you saw a lot of plays from some role guys too. Casey Toohill chasing down a screen play to lead it to a stop. They got the Bills the ball back later. To your point, I think DeMar, because how much man they were playing, a concern of mine was the lack of speed and athleticism. And you saying, you don't see him, to me, in a game like that with the concern. And also, I had another concern of if they were going to play in coverage, the type of physicality that D-Hop has and the size he has of being able to throw it up and go up there. It seemed like he kept the top on. He was the single high safety on a lot of those man looks. And so for them not to be able to go over the top, and you didn't see Xavier Worthy blown by him and Mahomes taking advantage of that, kudos to him. If you're playing a lot of man, having a lacking athletic corner or a lacking athletic safety back there is a concern. So shout out to him there. I wasn't mad at Dorian Williams a lot, which I have been over pursuit type
really
of stuff.
Smart spy that we know how dangerous Mahomes can be when he runs, not Josh level, but a super annoying level. And they use Dorian Williams really smartly as a spy several times.
Yeah. Overall, very happy with his performance. Again, also you look at the box score here, Greg, and Greg Rousseau has 0 tackles.
I saw it later while you were talking. I was going to bring it up. Gregory Rousseau with the ultimate. I can't wait. Someone's going to use it as a box score thing. Yeah. He had 0 tackles today. He did not. If you didn't count the 2 quarterback hits, depending on which box score service you look at, he wouldn't show up. He would be a 0 in the game. He was awesome today and constantly collapsing the pocket and getting Mahomes to scramble and to chase out and to chasing him down. He was hugely impactful, and he technically had 0 statistics today.
Yep. Another guy is stacking a bunch of games here right now. Von Miller. Von Miller had a really nice game too. Also some run plays, a little bit more use.
Great contain, did get a sack.
Yep. Von Miller is going to be huge down the stretch. If he stays healthy and is playing the way he is, that's going to be huge.
I will tell you. So, Mass, I don't know why I'm triggered by Jordan Phillips, but there are some snaps where I pick out a guy to watch at the beginning of the play rather than I've tried to train my eyes not to watch the ball all the time and to be able to watch other stuff because I know I'm pretty good at rewinding and going back and catching up. And for some reason, on some of the short yardage plays, I was watching Jordan Phillips. And other than when he did get stood up and pushed back a yard, but then was in position to kind of catch Kareem Hunt as he tried to jump over and kind of helped bring him down, he got stood up and pushed back ridiculously several times. I have no idea. I like Jordan Phillips. He's a cool guy. He's fun. He talks a lot of trash. He's great to have in the locker room and on the sideline. He should be the game day inactive guy with the sweatsuit on, and Eli Ankow should be in the game. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I'm hoping that switches at some point.
I think it's one, coach trust is like a real thing, and I think also the lack of, up until this game, the lack of the interior penetration that we were getting from the defensive line, I do think is why they've been going with him and trying to get him involved in this game, and wanted him on the team. And Eli Anku doesn't really give you that penetrating style, which is what the Bills are.
Run game only. Phillips is a better pass rusher. I think that's perfectly fair to say. He's a better pass rusher than Eli Anku.
We've heard Bobby Babbage talk about it. Like, we are a penetrate upfield defensive line and mostly zone coverage on the back end, and not as much of it tonight. And so I think it's the fit wise. But they only have the one more call up for Anku, and then they have to put him on the roster if they're going to keep him on the team. So that's kind of a tough spot too. Is that something they're saving for more of is that going to be a Detroit Lions game type of thing? Is that going to be a 49ers game type of thing? Because then they're going to have to make a roster decision.
Lions offensive line, that is not.
No, my God, no. I'm not ready for that. I got weeks, buddy. Okay.
Yeah, we get time. So before we switch over to the drive-by-drive, I want to give a shout out to the special teams. I thought they were great today. Brandon Codrington with some good aggressive returns. Sam Martin with one awesome punt and two good punts. The coverage units were in position. We never gave up anything scary on their side of it. And Tyler Bass was Tyler Bass.
The next extra point almost bit us in the butt. Could have.
I
don't even think he missed it.
Yeah, like I wish. Again, how many times have we talked about that CBS has the worst telecast we never saw any replays. Like, I had no idea whether McDermott should or shouldn't have replayed or challenged that because they never replayed the DeAndre Hopkins catch. They never replayed. Like, how many fans wanted to see, like, oh, everybody's talking about they thought Bass made the kick. Well, why don't you show a replay of whether it was inside or outside the thing?
Why don't we have sensors on this stuff to just... Why can't they're $1 billion league, Greg? Why can't we put a sensor on the field goal and a sensor on the ball, and we don't even have to rely on the
guys it's inside or outside? Your hip buzzes if it makes it inside. So either way, even if it did technically sneak in, it was close enough that if it hadn't been that high, it would have been a doink. So I'm not gonna all of a sudden praise him for maybe it could have technically been made. He made 4 out of his 5 kicks. The other ones he made the huge one at the end. Justin Tucker missed 2 field goals. Tons of missed kicks today. There was a lot of weird missed kicks today.
Something going on in the league right now with kickers.
Yeah. Young-Ho Koo missed a bunch of 3 kicks. Evan McPherson's missed. Like, really good kickers are missing a bunch. Except for Brandon Aubrey, he never misses.
Yes.
But the Dallas is terrible. So
I was going to say, I would give up having a winning record.
Yeah, correct. I'll take the trade. All right. Let's go through and do our drive-by-drive. And I have a hint for you guys. The Western one's going to be late.
Real quick, I just want to make one point. Our friend Greg from Left Turn, people know Left Turn as a sponsor of ours. We were texting during the middle of the show, and I think there was a lot of people that are still mad that the Bills didn't keep Ariza, but he out-punted coverage. At least twice that I saw. And that's something Sam Martin's actually been very consistent, gets good hang time, there's a finesse part of punting. It's not all just boot the ball as far as you can. So I just want to point that out. He's got a bigger leg, but that's not always good, especially when you have a Codrington back there who can take one to the house.
So just scanning through, the one was a 46-yard punt, but he let up a 10-yard return, so a net 36. Another one was a 45-yard punt, but he gave up a 25-yard return. That one was the worst one because that one was a super line drive and nobody was even in the screen.
Yeah.
Codrington had a huge head of steam. So that's a net 20-yard punt. The other one, 58-yarder, he got a 15-yard return. So net 43, which isn't terrible, but he negated the fact that it was a 58-yard punt. You got nothing for that. It was a net 43. Net 43 is average or slightly below average. Then his last one, 44 yards, and Codrington got a 6-yard return, net 38. None of those are good punts. All of those are below average results, net negatives in the overall statistics. And I guess while we're doing that, let's look and see where it ended up for Sam Martin. The one we were punting into the end zone, but it was a fair catch, so we put it at the 12. So technically a net 35 yards, but he did what he was asked to do. Yep. He hung it up there, and they had to fair catch at the 12-yard line. That's a good punt. Sam Martin then had a 47-yarder that was fair caught, so net 47. Another one that was 44 with a 8-yard return, so that one was a 36. So that one's a net negative. So 1 bad and 2 good for his 3 punts. That's all you can ask. That's what's there is doing his job.
And, one more thing in stats and stuff. I haven't done it a lot. Toxic differential in this game. What do you guess the toxic differential was in this game? At least by my estimate. Here we had it.
I'm trying to think. Did they have a second big play? The Worthy big one.
They had an interception.
Okay, yeah, okay. But I was just play wise.
Explosives, yeah.
Did they only have 2?
Yes, it was 9-2.
No way.
In favor of the Bills in this game.
The Xavier Worthy one stuck out, and then I couldn't.
They had a bunch of 17-yard plays.
Okay, the Kareem Hunt one had to be close. I don't know how long his run was.
People count those as explosive. I do the traditional
20 yards.
20-yard.
It was a 17-yard run, so that's a good play. But even then, even if you use their method, that's
3.
9-3, and I think Josh had another one that would have counted because then so it'd be 10-3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice stuff.
I love it. And then, like we said, we talked about coaching earlier. I don't think this was a flawless game. Again, I think that Joe Brady did some like necessary evil, take your medicine stuff, but I still think he could probably be a little bit more efficient. There were some of those where
Scored 30 against the top defense.
the end result was awesome.
Yep.
Some of those things, when it's 2nd and 10 against that run defense, I really challenge anyone to explain to me how it's good to run the ball against that defense on 2nd and 10. Like, I just don't think the range of possible outcomes is bad. So I'm not going to give them credit there. But again, like you said, we put up 30 points against Kansas City's defense, which I haven't looked, but probably is the most they've given up all year. I don't remember what the score was in the opener against Baltimore. Maybe that was a
I
close
think it
enough
was
one.
Close. Yeah. I don't think it was 30 though. I think it was like 28.
No, 27-20.
Yeah.
They had not given up 30 yet this season. The
Right.
most they had given, heck, they had only given up over 20 twice.
Yeah.
25 to the Bengals, 24 to the Buccaneers. It was the first time anybody scored 30 on them. So obviously very positive there. Holding the Chiefs to 21. I thought that Babbage was very, very good. And as usual, made some great adjustments later on to be able to control them. Gave up 7 points in the second half, one bad drive in the entire second half. And then the aggressive coaching decisions, obviously the biggest one at the end of the game we already talked about, but consistently leaning into, hey, we can't back our way into beating the Chiefs. We have to go out there and beat them. We did not do the handoff, run, pass stuff at the end. They were passing on that last drive. They knew they needed to be able to get first downs and knew they needed to be able to keep the ball and take shots. They took shots down the field. We could have had the touchdown earlier to Quentin Morris if Josh was able to get a little more on the ball. Really aggressive coaching, and I think in this kind of spot, that's absolutely what we want to see.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So the first drive of the game was awesome because it was a quick end around to Xavier Worthy, and then Patrick Mahomes threw an interception, and I got really excited.
Yes, what perfect way to start a game in a big spot like this at home. First of all, you win the toss. You elect to defer to the second half, setting yourself up for a double dip. Spoiler alert, doesn't happen, but you give yourself that opportunity to steal that possession. Yeah. That is smart football. But not only that, then when they get the ball, two plays, you create a turnover and basically steal. It's the best of both worlds. You
get the ball after half, and correct. You get the first real possession of the
game, and the ability to score first, which matters so much in the NFL. If you look at teams that score first, it's a very high success rate of winning games, and the Bills come out and they put together a really nice drive.
Yeah, I would say to really compound it is that's one thing if you do that and you take away their chance to take the lead. But a lot of times we have those drives where people are kind of feeling things out and you end up don't really cash in. Instead, the Bills go 8 plays, 65 yards, score a touchdown. First one was a quick little check to James Cook, then a handoff, then they hit Amari Cooper on that awesome throw on the sideline. One-hander with the broken hand or whatever, not broken, but the hand with a cast on it. He makes a one-handed catch with it, so obviously feeling pretty good. Then another quick one to Shakir, had to throw the ball away, and then 2 quick checkdowns to Cook, but then the one to Samuel, he breaks in, ends up going for 15 yards, then a touchdown to James Cook, and you really get the excitement of not only did they get the interception, but now we went down, we cashed in, and we were able to take full advantage of it.
Yeah, it's not full advantage because Bass does miss, and so it's 6,
it's only up
6-0 instead of, and that it kind of sours like a little bit for me because man, you need every point against Kansas City. That could have been, again, if Josh doesn't do crazy Josh stuff and they somehow get the ball back and all they need is a field goal to beat them, that's all we're talking about is the missed extra point. And luckily we don't have to. The Bills handle business, but in that spot, not feeling great that you didn't get a free point that you probably could have needed, especially we said the Vegas odds super tight on this. I saw DVOA, they do score predictions. It's the closest I ever saw. It was like by half of a point in this game. So losing any points, not good. Didn't feel great there. But you come right back out here on defense, start feeling real good again, Greg.
Yeah, it was a really exciting start to be able to get into it. You then not only had that touchdown drive, you get a 3 and out.
Yep.
So you have an interception and a 3 and out on the first 2 drives, and that's just, you never see that with a Mahomes offense. You get I think they tipped the ball on the first
Ed
play.
Oliver blew that. It was like a screen swing play. Ed blew it up, and then AJ Epinesa got the tip on it.
Yeah, and then they come over and Terrell Bernard gets a sack to sink it on third down, and it was just as good of a start as you could possibly ask. But of course, the Kansas City defense is still fantastic. So the Bills don't go 3 and out, but they only run 6 plays, only get 13 yards here. They get a nice one to Khalil Shakir. But then end up getting they have it under pressure where Josh is trying to roll out and keep it alive. But Trent McDuffie did a really nice job pressuring him and being able to go after it. And then they end up having to have their first punt of the game to kick it back to Kansas City.
Yeah, not great. You want to, your defense rewards you. You want to really run it up on them, but whatever. It's, this is such a good defense. You knew there was going to be some stagnation in the offense and that you're going to have some punts, but still.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it comes right back, and Kansas City probably puts together their best drive of the game. 11 plays, 88 yards, methodically down the field.
Methodical.
Oh my God. It's 4 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards.
How many third and shorts? 31, 31. Yeah.
The 31-yarder to Worthy was their only chunk play, then 5 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, just constantly matriculating the ball down the field. This was Xavier Worthy's, probably biggest drive as a pro.
Oh, yeah.
He got 4 catches on this drive, is only 4 catches of the game. And that besides the carry on the first play, so 5 touches, and he got all of them at this point, including the touchdown, and he's, an incredibly fast player coming across there. It's tough when you let him get ahead of steam. You guys set the record for the fastest 40 ever at the combine. And now being in that kind of position, they come back. Of course, their kicker off the street makes their extra point because, of course, he does. And they take the 7-6 lead. Now you can't help but think like, oh, are we, is that extra point going to come back and haunt us? Is that going to be the thing that we're talking about in the postgame show?
Yeah. One play I want to point out on this that obviously doesn't end up mattering in the game script because they do score a touchdown on the drive, but there was a 2nd and 4 late in that, and it was an incomplete to Kelsey. It looked like but it was really a throwaway, and it looked like it was a setup for a screen. And if there's been anything that's been a huge Achilles heel of the Buffalo Bills, especially against Kansas City and Andy Reid, but against really all teams, is they just bite screens all the time. But we've seen this year, Austin Johnson has 2 picks on these types of plays. They are defending the screen well. And this one, I think they sniffed it out. It looked like Bills were on top of it, and Mahomes had to throw that away. And Romo did pick up. He's like, oh, we had Kelsey out there. But it looked like they set up for a screen, and the Bills were all over it again. And so something that they've probably evolved a little bit as a defense is sniffing out some of that stuff where teams were attacking them. Again, obviously it doesn't matter. They go down and score. But this one, like I had it circled for this was gonna be maybe my drive of the game because of the response to Casey scoring here. Because I don't feel good when they come down with a methodical type approach like that. Like, oh man, they're gonna get going. And if Kansas City and Mahomes get in a rhythm, that as a defense is really hard to stop, even if you are making adjustments. And so I was relying on the offense, like you got to come back and score and give the defense some time to stop. The last thing you want to do here is go 3 and out and let them stay in the rhythm they're in. So the Bills do a great job here.
Yeah, and like you said, they answer back 9 plays, 70 yards, their own methodical drive. The Chiefs had the ball for 5 minutes and 27 seconds. The Bills answer back with their own 4-minute, 45-second drive, really controlling the ball. This one, they get the quick one to Samuel, getting incompletion, but then they get the play to Shakir that was probably pretty close, would have been like probably 4th and 1, but instead they obviously saw that the defensive end that dropped back grabbed Hollins, and I'm pretty sure Hollins sold it. I don't think he like spun him around as hard as what Hollins did, made it look, but good on him being a savvy veteran to sell it.
I say this every week though, Greg. There's something he does. He gets one of these a game.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure he's averaged 1 DPI or holding call a game, and they're big, dude. They are free first downs, or they are can be.
This is on a 3rd down where we didn't convert.
Yeah, they could be explosive plays at times. Like it doesn't. This is another one of those things that doesn't show up on a stat sheet. And for some reason, whether it's his physicality, the acting skills, the headiness to do it, he gets the flags. It's pretty much been every game that he's played. He gets another one here today, and that's a big play in this drive.
And now we get 2 runs and then the tush push for 2 yards to convert. And then I love it on 1st and 10 here. we stay in jumbo with Alec Anderson in there, and we take that play action deep shot to Dawson Knox for 24 yards. I also love just planting that seed with them.
Yeah.
Then we go back with another run play, and this is where Dawson Knox gets scratched in the eye, but initially we don't know that. So at first I'm like, oh man, look, we just lost Kincaid. We can't afford to lose Knox too. Luckily, it obviously didn't seem too serious. And then Josh just drops it in the bucket to Amari Cooper. Drags his foot
by Cooper.
Pinned it like 1 millisecond before his right foot comes up off the ground. Was really, really awesome to see him make those huge plays. And again, now, like I said, we have 2 weeks now to fully install everything that we need for him down the stretch to be able to really take advantage of it. And then, of course, right after that, James Cook punches it in, converts for his second touchdown, of the early part of the game.
So Amari Cooper leads 2 explosive plays to lead to touchdown drives against the Kansas State Chiefs. I'm just wondering, has he started to pay the dividends yet? Or no?
Yeah, many are asking. Many are asking.
At least one person was asking about it.
I take that back. One person was asking.
That's a subtweet in real life. For those that don't know. And then James Cook, man, this touchdown run by Cook is got maybe in for angry. I didn't see all the games and all the runs but he's
already won. Shockingly, James Cook already has 2 angry run scepters in his career and just one recently. So they probably won't give it to him again, but he could. He absolutely could.
He might be a nominee with that one, dude. That was a hard run.
Yeah. It's again, a guy that was not in the repertoire of things that I was expecting in his skill set when we brought him in.
Romo talked about it a couple times in the broadcast. Like he's really working.
Lauren, hey, we miss you, Lauren. Hope you're doing well. Said it feels wrong that I probably say I love Josh Allen more than I say I love you to my husband. There's nothing wrong with that. And you want to know what?
We all do.
Do you want to know who agrees with that? Your husband. Your husband also thinks that there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes. And I don't miss Lauren because you know what? I'm on Blue Sky and Lauren's on Blue Sky.
Hey, there you go. That's fun. After that score, we really had a chance here to put kind of a stake in their heart early on. We get another 3 and out. You never get these on Mahomes. And this one again, they had a play. They got the offsetting unnecessary roughness nonsense that went back and forth. And the deep play to Worthy where he barely stepped out of bounds, but hey, he did. It counts. He did it. And then you get the Von Miller sack on Mahomes, which again, this one was Rousseau and Ed Oliver collapsing the pocket, and then Vaughn gets credit for the sack, but he was there to get credit for the sack. But this is another one where 2 guys who were not in the box score actually caused the sack because Ed Oliver and Gregory Rousseau collapsed the pocket on Mahomes. They punt. We have a chance here where it's okay. We're up 13-7. We can go up 2 scores. We're going to really take advantage of it here. And this is where we get the interception.
The punt too was the 25-yard return, which hurt. That made the interception hurt a little bit more because your defense played so well here. That the 2nd and 10 was another group pressure, won't show up on the stat sheet. Then the 3rd and 10, he leads to the sack. You get a punt. You get a huge return by Codrington here, and so you have good field position. You have KC on the ropes. That's what, I'm not mad the play itself. It wasn't sugar high Josh. It, like you said, it was a miscommunication. Those things definitely happen. It was a 4th down. You're probably turning the ball over anyway if it wasn't a completed pass. But it was the not paying back both your defense and special teams and having a full complementary football, which is what we want. Because this could have put the game away here early if they converted this drive.
So, we're moving the ball a little bit. We get it where this one is. And again, we're going for it on 4th and 3. It's aggressive here because you also could have kicked the field goal to go up 9 and it would have put you up 2 scores, but it would have been a 51-52 yarder. You just saw the missed extra point by Bass. I'm always kind of torn in those situations. Is that, do you want to try to rebuild? We can't afford to be in a position where we can't kick. So I don't mind the idea of giving him a little bit of a pressure, longer field goal there to kind of help rebuild some of the confidence. Again, I like the aggression. I like the aggression because that's what we did. We knew we had to score touchdowns to beat them. We can't praise it at the end and then complain about it here.
How many times have we come on these shows, like the first few playoff meetings, McDermott settled for field goals and he was killed for you can't settle for field goals. That's not how you beat this Chiefs. And so I'm not going to kill him for putting the ball in Josh Allen's hands and trying to put the game away and get yourself a nice lead here. So I like the aggression. It's hindsight because it turned into an interception that we would crap on him for it.
And again, like the result is bad. Josh, miscommunication with him and Dawson Knox, but what do you want him to do? Throw it away? It's fourth down. Like he needs to put it in play where somebody can make a play on it. Obviously, like you said, we don't want the return to where that also kind of adds an extra negative because they get 29 yards back and now they have a short field. And of course, the Chiefs now convert. They go 9 plays, 40 yards. They move down the field here. This is with the play to Hendershot. It looks like we're maybe going to get a hold and to stop them on the goal line. And this is where we get that miscommunication where it's Terrell Bernard yelling at Darren Johnson because he thought that he was supposed to stay with Noah Gray and hand him off to him, come in that direction. So that is a play where all of a sudden now it's like, oh man, we let them retake the lead. We've been playing really good here. The defense got some really critical stops, and now we had a gimme with an interception and a return where we let them come back and be able to get back in this game.
How stout though? This turns into a touchdown, but how stout really all day was the defensive line in that like real tight space. They got some first downs in those 3rd and 1s, but when it got in the goal line, they weren't just going to hand it off and run into this defense and get the touchdown. So shout out to them. It obviously doesn't work out, but even on that great touchdown, like they pushed Mahomes out of the pocket. They got pressure on Mahomes. They did everything right. Rasul just got sucked up. That's one I've got marked to look at because I don't know what, or on this one was actually the Taryn. But they still had pressure. Still were getting on him. Just a bummer on that one.
Yeah. So it's tough to be in that position, and you don't really know. But the Bills then get the ball back 2 minutes 51 seconds.
Beautiful drive.
End up running every second of it down to the end. Use the end of the half to be able to put together a 12-play, 62-yard scoring drive. This one you had the deep play to Curtis Samuel. They hit for 21 yards. Couple different plays back and forth. You get the Mac Hollins one for 12 yards. He was really
some smart runs to Ty Johnson here.
Yeah. A couple nice plays moving their way down. They sniffed out one of the screens to Shakir here that they had a chance for. And then I think this is the one where Josh threw it to Shakir, but he missed that he could have had Samuel going the other direction, and they wind up having to kind of settle for the field goal. And I know somebody mentioned in the comments earlier. So Tom, Chiefs fan that's in the chat here, we appreciate you. This is always the best rule is like, hey, real analytics is do whatever the other team's fans don't want you to do. Right. And he's saying here he was begging McDermott to kick because that's the golden rule. You go up by 5, but you're giving Mahomes the ball back with 2 minutes and change, only down 5, and he wins it with a touchdown. How many teams did that to Brady over the years and the different spots like that over the years that we know? It's just, how those games end. So here, and somebody made a comment earlier that, Josh actually didn't have his best game and we still won 30 by more than a score against the Chiefs. And I think he's right. Early on, Josh had several misses. Like he obviously made huge critical plays later. He was awesome today and had the heroic plays, but there was a lot where, rightfully, I think the announcers pointed out a couple of them. The Quentin Morris play was an easy touchdown that he just missed. He had several just miss throws, and we still won by more than a score against the Chiefs. That's really encouraging in the grand scheme.
Yeah, and I think the comment was specifically about like missing open guys, which what happened on this play. But that some of that is what is baked into the Steve Spagnuolo defense.
Yeah,
is getting you to see certain things pre-snap, post-snap, and you don't think it's going to be open because of what you saw. And so then when it is open, it's such a split-second decision. But overall, so much more good than bad.
Oh yeah,
still.
way.
And taking the field goal here is still good. You take the lead going in the half, you're up, and you've activated the double dip, so you have a shot here to really still get up a 2-score lead. Unfortunately, they don't double dip it right away here, but you did you put yourself in a position, and just a really smart drive. They used the field well. They ran into it when you didn't expect them to run. So I thought the final 2-minute drive was a really good drive to get 3 points. Obviously we want 7 every time, but the 3 is not a failure.
Yeah, especially when it's taking the lead. That's always a big one.
Yep.
So here, the 3 and out to open the half was extra frustrating because this is the one that Romo really gave Josh the business for. And it was correct in that Spagnuolo tricked him into somehow thinking he needed to go to Knox and triple coverage deep. And it was Curtis Samuel running across that. I don't know if it would have been, it wasn't going to be a touchdown, but it probably was going to be like a 20 or 25 yard play. And it was on 3rd and 7. So he easily could have converted, would have been over midfield, would have really had some energy going forward, but Josh didn't see him or didn't see him in time. So we end up having to punt and end up being in that position again. A very nice punt by Sam Martin, 47 yards, had to be fair caught, kicked it all the way down to the 20. And this is where we see in the second half here, the defense really started to clamp down because we trade back and forth. We get a 3 and out to them. We end up getting the ball back and having to get stalled and punt it back, but then we cause another one, and you kind of go back and forth for a couple drives here through
on that first drive
of the third quarter.
I just want to bring up a point real quick because we've been having a lot of conversations about yards and rushing and what matters and what doesn't. 1st and 10, Hunt gets a 7-yard run. They averaged 4.6, I think, on the ground for the day, and none of that mattered. They come out, they get into 3rd and 1. Ed Oliver with a big stuff on the 3rd and 1 there. That's a huge play. And then again, Greg from Left Turn pointed this out. Sean McDermott would get killed if he ran out in his own territory and did the 4th and 1. Like, we're gonna try to get you to jump off.
Try to get you to jump.
Andy Reid did it, and he's the greatest coach in the world. I think people don't realize that coaches are littered with mistakes all over the NFL all the time.
And I will say, I get why teams still try to do that because the Steelers literally won a game against the Commanders a week ago that they got somebody to do that, which is about as absurd. Yeah, correct. There's no downside to it. It's just silly to be able to go. And Pat saying here, I will celebrate hard if when Spagnuolo takes a head coaching job. I think he would have by now. I think that ship has sailed. But yes, I would love that if they lost him. That would be fantastic.
Unfortunately, I think Bobby Babich will get the head coaching job that
probably before
Spagnuolo deserves.
Yeah, unfortunately. But here, after they go back and forth and trade, the Bills now get a 10-play, 83-yard touchdown drive. This one was huge because it really was the one where we needed them to be able to go up multiple scores and really take control here. This goes through the end of the 3rd quarter and begins the 4th quarter. 6 minutes off the clock. They're able to take 6 minutes off the clock on this scoring drive, plus put them up 2 scores. And now I'm talking to my family down in the basement. I'm like, we're like almost playing the clock as much as we're playing the Chiefs. When you're up 2 scores and you're into the 4th quarter, now all of a sudden it's, oh man, we got a real shot here. But this drive was fantastic. You get the defensive pass interference on Samuel, which is honestly probably even a 10th chunk play there. For
I counted that.
Okay, 22-yarder, good. So that one is another really nice one. Then you get the actual 22-yarder to Shakir, which was all yards after the catch, where he took it from the line of scrimmage and got 22 yards out of it, breaking multiple tackles. Hits Curtis Samuel, hits Ray Davis, and then we get the Curtis Samuel where this one. Spagnuolo sent the house, and Josh is backpedaling as 7 guys come at him and cover 0, and he finds Curtis Samuel, and Samuel almost trips and falls.
Incredible athleticism to not fall there.
Yes. Keeps his balance and gets into the end zone on, a fantastic play for a much needed touchdown. And that puts them to where they're up 2 scores now, 23-14.
Yeah. And again, really happy that Samuel is coming on. He can be a big time weapon down the stretch when you have more focus on some of the other pieces that teams are going to have to focus on. If you have a guy like Curtis Samuel leaking out and he's a dude that can take a 20-something yard touchdown to the house, a big thing. So good on him to have a nice drive here. Probably his best drive as a Bill right here to put them up the 2 scores. But Greg, we talk about how we feel in these moments all the time. Like any other team, I feel so good that we've got a 2-score lead in the 4th quarter. The 3rd quarter just ended in this drive on the Shakir 22-yarder.
Maybe not as obnoxiously bad as Tony Romo felt late in the game, but I felt bad and still did not feel confident yet.
I did not feel confident yet. And because the exact reason why is what Kansas City then does and puts together the drive that they put together, where I don't even think they had a 3rd down on this drive. They just pushed the ball down the field.
They did not. This was so in a second half where I credit Bobby Babich and this defense, 4 of the drives, 3 of them were punts and an interception. The touchdown drive was weirdly easy for Kansas
When
City.
Kansas City needs a touchdown, no offense is better in football. Like when they
Oh my
have to
God.
score a touchdown in the fourth quarter, they just do.
It's wild. So this one was a great balance of runs and passes. They passed the ball a couple times. That they got the nice chunk play to Kareem Hunt, 17-yard run. DeAndre Hopkins with an 11-yard catch. Justin Watson with a 16-yard catch. Just constantly moving down the field. Christian Benford got called for. It was a fine. I don't think it was the worst defensive pass interference, but it wasn't egregious of what he got called for. Then we do get the stuff. This is the one where Kareem Hunt tries to jump over the line.
Yep.
And then the other one, Patrick Mahomes. This one, for as much as we obviously always go crazy on Josh Allen, this was just Patrick Mahomes' magic, just keeping alive, scrambling around, and then finds Noah Gray in the back corner of the end zone. And I'm sure they could have handed that off better, but this is like 10 seconds into the play. It's really hard to have sticky coverage for 10 seconds.
I think Rasul's probably coming up because Mahomes was drifting towards the sideline, and that is he runs in the end zone. There's some rules that conflict you in those moments of like, do you come up? Because also the last thing you want is to Mahomes to do one of those little scampers into the end zone. Yes, but he was getting pressure, so you didn't need to get sucked up if that's the reason. Again, that's one I'm definitely going to watch back. Obviously, it isn't the play that I thought it was going to be when I wrote it down, because this puts them within the score. And now I'm in like, God damn it. Like, this is going to happen again. Now it's close. Now it's a mistake away from giving them the ball with a chance to take this from us at home and ruin it. And
of course,
that's not what happens, is it?
Instead, It is not what happens. The Buffalo Bills get the ball back with 7 minutes and 53 seconds left. They go on a
to give us our West
play
for the people
70-yard, what is easily the easiest choice we've had all season for the West Herr drive of the game. Yeah. The Buffalo Bills go down and salt this game away. Chris Jones blows up the first play. We lose a yard. It's 2nd and 11. We hit Mac Hollins for a 15-yarder. Huge, like you said, coming up clutch in a moment where we needed him.
Who needs MVS? We got Mac Hollins, baby.
So on the next play is where he misses Quentin Morris deep, and I don't know what happened, if he couldn't step into it, or it didn't seem like there was a crazy.
This is
the
drive after we found out he went into the blue tent.
Said he hurt his hand. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe he couldn't get a good grip on the ball to rip it as far as he normally does. But if he puts it on Quentin Morris trots into the end zone.
Yep.
Although honestly, maybe it's too fast. Maybe you're scoring too fast in that spot. So instead, we go down. Josh ends up scrambling on the next play, and then we do the hurry up where we do the quarterback sneak, which seems virtually unstoppable with the Bills. Was fantastic. They go and convert. Then we took a shot to Khalil Shakir, more of an overthrow, you throw away as they're scrambling down. We then get this one, made me a little frustrated. Where we try to swing it to James Cook. We couldn't get anything going with him. Ended up getting 6 targets and 5 catches, but only got 7 yards on there. I'd really love to get him going in the passing game.
I love this play design, though. Like
it's the swing lead where Reggie Gilliam's out there in front of him.
It's nice play design. It's going to hit. This is probably not the team to do it because it's really an extension of the run play. It's almost like a toss, right? And this team's just so good that it's hard to get them on these plays, but that's going to hit at some point. But yeah, I was frustrated too. It's like, it's a 1 yard every time. What are we doing? Right, and it puts you into a 3rd and 9 situation, which doesn't feel good because it's now I don't know how much time was left at this 3rd and 9, but I'm looking at like this is the biggest play of seconds. Yeah, this is the biggest play of the season so far. Like, you got to convert this. And my boy, like, holy cow, Greg, tell him what happened.
So they're sitting there, have a nice clean crosser. Khalil Shakir ends up flashing open pretty wide open in the time that he's there. And Brian Cook, the safety for the Chiefs, comes flying up, crushes Khalil Shakir right in the like liver in the back.
Kidneys,
Shakir holds onto the ball 10 yards on 3rd and 9. Enormous play. And good for Shakir
biggest catch of his career.
Came back in the game. Huge play.
This is what I say about him all the time too. Like, we talk about that Beasley role. This is why he's Beasley plus. Like, he can do all
Beasley
the
plus
stuff,
yak.
and he gives you the yak, but then he can also make these like this is a big time wide receiver one type of catch where it's in the middle of the field, contact's coming, he holds onto it. I think the biggest catch of his career. And I was scared we were losing him in this moment. Luckily, he comes back on this drive, but man, was I terrified.
Probably peeing blood a little bit.
Yeah. But I hope not.
Better him than me.
Yeah.
We then go right back. We get the play action to Knox for 4 yards, which again, that's another play. We're on 1st and 10. That is, I think 28 coaches in the league run the ball there and just take the run and start to try to milk the clock.
Yeah.
They ran play action and took a pass. The next one made my heart skip a beat because we have Josh runs, but Deion Dawkins gets rolled up on by Josh, and Dawkins goes down. And I will say his initial reaction, and again, CBS is horrible, doesn't show any replays. We never saw the replay of him getting rolled up. You just hear he got rolled up, and you see his reaction. In my mind, I thought it was a knee. I thought he rolled up in the knee, and that, oh my God, we just lost Deion Dawkins. Thankfully, he scrambled off, got it taped up, back in. Now he gets 2 weeks to get right.
I won't be shocked if he's in one of those boots at the end when he's walking out, something like that. But
it's going to swell up and be nasty. It is. So now we start to force them to be able to have to use their timeouts. And then here, I don't know what the check was. I think that they talked about it pretty well. It looked like we were trying to set up the Shakir screen, and you had Nick Bolton came up right at the line looking to jump it, and you had the defensive end tried it earlier in the game too, where someone's going to try to jump that route. They're going to try to time it, and I hope that Joe Brady is timing it for a pump fake and a seam shot to be able to go right behind them. But Josh smartly checked out of it because he saw Bolton there trying to anticipate it and to run it. So he checks into a run on the play that gets no yards or half a yard or whatever it is. And now it's 4th and 2. And it's 4th and 2 with 2 minutes and 17 seconds left. And I got to tell you, I think so many coaches here take the points and kick the field goal. You're up by 2. A field goal puts you up 5. But as our Chiefs fan friend who's in the chat here said, that's exactly what Kansas City wanted you to do. They didn't want us to go for it. They didn't want, they wanted us to try to kick it, to go up 5 and to give Patrick Mahomes over 2 minutes to just need a touchdown. And instead, Sean McDermott has the guts and the testicular fortitude to go for it here. And Josh Allen makes him look brilliant because he comes through with a 26-yard pinballing run. 5 different Chiefs get a hand on him on this play. We mentioned earlier, Chris Seth pointed out Osiris Torrance's best rep against Chris Jones the entire game, completely handles him on that play. Josh runs it in. You mentioned the crazy next gen stats percentage. Was it 1.8 or
1.2% chance to turn into a touchdown?
1.2% chance at that point of whether he would score or not. And then he punches it in for the game clinching touchdown to put the Bills up 30-21 with 2 minutes and 17 seconds left. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and Josh Allen is such a gamer because it's 4th and 2, and they're starting to take timeouts. I think a lot of people would get the first down and slide. There was a moment where defenders were coming in on him. If this was any other play in the game, he's probably sliding at this point. But he saw the end zone, and he was not going to be denied for the end zone on this one. And there's not a lot of guys that are going to take the contact that he took to make that happen. He could have easily slid, and they could have forced Casey to take all the timeouts and still just gotten this game out of the way still. But to put the exclamation point on the game in this way, and again, I believe that this has catapulted Josh, in my opinion, to being the MVP of this season. I think you got to, simply for what he did on this play. I don't care what his stats are the rest of the season. The Bills are the only team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs because of this singular play. And it just showed off exactly what Josh is that separates him. Like you said, maybe Lamar's the only other guy that can make this play, but not in the same way. He's not running over a guy at the goal line and just like plowing through him to do it. There's only one that does this, and it's Josh Allen.
Pretty amazing. Amazing, like our friends over at West Her. This was the easiest and most fun West Her drive of the game. Again, the biggest auto dealership in New York State, one of the biggest employers in Western New York. Awesome people to work with. Make sure you check them out for any of your automotive needs. Producer Chris here saying, Khalil Shakir said that during Josh's last touchdown, he started yelling and blacked out a little bit, which sounds like a fantastic experience. Me too. Me too.
All of
Khalil,
us are
me
Khalil
too.
Shakir. Like I said, dude, I do not want this video to get demonetized. You guys have been great in the chat, so I think we'll do well on this video. So I don't want to get demonetized of the things that I said as soon as he crossed the goal line. But I love him. That was mixed in there that I love Josh Allen. So like Lauren, awesome. My wife has to hear me say that all the time. I probably say it more than I say that I love her, but she understands. Everybody in the house understands.
Yeah, 100%. And then obviously, again, it's all kind of academic at this point because you're up 9 points to 2 minutes, regardless of how many times Tony Romo tried to implore the viewers that the game was still dramatic. And even though they're up 9 points with 2 minutes and 17 seconds left, but whatever. They do.
I'm sure there's some nervous mafia that played right into.
Sure, we've seen stupider things happen, so I'm not going to fault them
for sure.
They end up getting a couple plays moving their way down a little bit. The one to Justin Watson, which was not a catch and should not have counted.
No, probably Cam Lewis's best drive, and like in terms of like making some big plays,
flashing up. So some huge plays, 2 in a row. There at one point, breaking the one up and the one tackle for a loss. Then we end up getting the universe made it right because Watson's catch should have been overturned, and then instead Mahomes scrambles for 18 yards on the next play, which would have put them very much in position at our 34, and that gets called back by a holding, which of course.
So then the NFL is rigged for us, right? Is that
correct? The
how
NFL
this
is not
works
rigged
now?
for us. That's how that works.
All right, perfect.
And then that ends up putting it back to the 4th and 13 that it should have been if they hadn't have gotten the catch. So kind of all netted out in the world. And now again, this is similar to Josh's interception. Like, I'm not going to count a 4th and 13 interception against Mahomes. He's just throwing it up there, but it is fun when Terrell Bernard picks it off with an awesome diving interception deep in coverage. That's pretty cool. He ends up catching that 35 yards down the field. So deep in coverage, Bernard dropped back there and ends up making an awesome play. And then we kneel it out with 2 Josh Allen knees at the end to win by more than a score, 30-21, give Kansas City their first loss of the season.
We're 9-2
in position. We are currently the 2 seed in the NFL. We are a half game behind the Chiefs with the tiebreaker in hand. We are a game up on the Steelers because we have 9 wins and they have 8. So we are currently the 2 seed and are in position with some games coming up where obviously the next 2, the Chiefs play the Panthers and the Raiders. Those are pretty easy games. You never know. Weird things happen. You never know. The Raiders did beat the Ravens, so crazy stuff happens. But then some games against the Chargers, the Texans, the Steelers, and the Broncos. The Chiefs have some losable games in there that we just need them to come through with one of those. The Bills obviously need to keep stacking W's. I don't know that they're going to reel it off and not lose again this season. That would be cool. I would support that fully. But they're going to come back here against the 49ers, the Rams, the Lions, some really tough games in this next stretch here. So great that they put it in position and now made it a dramatic, fun finish.
Yeah. And also, I think the one knock right now on the Bills has been they haven't beat the good teams again, right? Like that's been the storyline that I kind of hear. The national media is like, yeah, they're good. They beat the teams they're supposed to, or they're not, they lost to the Ravens, they lost to the Texans. You beat the best team in football right now, right? By most measures,
comfortably.
He beat them comfortably, better than anyone else has played against the Chiefs. And so I still think actually Detroit's the best team in football, and you got them coming up. So that'll be another measuring stick. But after this game, man, I think you could play with anyone. Everyone told me the Chiefs were going to run the ball down your throat. They were going to win in the line of scrimmage. You weren't going to be able to stop this offense. Pretty good showing from the Bills defense. And then the Bills were limited offensively. No Spencer Brown. No Keon Coleman, no Kincaid. If they can get all that back offensively, they put up 30 points against what I think is actually the best defense in the NFL, if not top 5. If they can do that against them, they could score 30 on anyone. If you can score 30 on anyone, like I'm willing to get in a shootout with Detroit and see what happens. Like, so I feel a lot better about that stretch coming up after what we saw tonight than I did probably previously. I looked at this 4-game stretch that the Bills have on the schedule 2 weeks ago and was kind of dreading, like, man, this could be real. We could lose 3 out of 4 of these games, and that kind of stinks. If Miami goes on a run or one of these teams kind of goes on a run, that could be really annoying. That's not there anymore. I'm totally relieved. We're one of the best teams in football, and we have a chance to really prove it against some teams that are also going to be measuring stick games here coming up.
Yeah, it was pretty fantastic. This was an awesome, awesome game. Gives us a ton of kind of relief and comfort to go into the bye, a much needed bye with a lot of guys returning. Sounds like Matt Milano will be ready to return. More time for Spencer Brown, more time for Dalton Kincaid, more time for Keon Coleman, some really key players to be able to come back. I saw again, Joe Biscaglia in the pregame talked again about breadcrumbs about Micah Hyde and that he thinks he's going to come back out of the bye. So just some all kinds of stuff, being able to get guys back here to be able to help this team. And the fact that we just beat the Chiefs without Matt Milano, Spencer Brown, Keon Coleman, and Dalton Kincaid, having those guys back in a rematch in the playoffs would be pretty awesome. This is going to be a really fun stretch.
It is. And you get some time here coming up. A really fun stretch for you.
So we'll have one more show this week to kind of talk about the bye week and some fun stuff there. But then I will be going on a vacation with my family, so I will be missing you guys here for a little bit. But luckily it worked out pretty well. So I'll only miss the 49ers preview show. I will be back in time for Sunday Night Football next week, or 2 weeks from now, when we play the 49ers on Sunday Night Football at home. So that's a nice stretch to be able to be there. I love that the Bills get a bye week and then get to be back at home. So a good, healthy stretch for this team to be out there. And I think that's going to be a really fun way to kick off the second stretch of the season.
Yeah, I need a buy from breakfast sandwiches for sure.
Yeah, your cardiologist encourages it.
Yeah, so but I'm looking forward to this. It's a good. This is a great opportunity for the Bills to kind of readjust some of the stuff that and self-evaluate, and I'm excited to see where they come out of it healthy with self-evaluation and regroup. Sean McDermott comes out of buys really hot. He does a good job. He has his team prepared coming out of a bye. And you do have the probably toughest section of the schedule here over the next 3 games. So I want to see how they look, because that's really, to me, the last of the measuring stick. Once you get past the holidays here, you should be able to wrap everything up. I know Chris put it in there that the Bills should be able to, or have the opportunity to clinch the division over Thanksgiving with a win over San Francisco and a Miami loss. I don't know if that's going to happen then or not, but you have a chance here to clinch the division before we get to the holiday, which is kind of crazy. I was talking to a buddy of mine, Greg, the other day. We were talking how quickly they can clinch the division. And it's like, I remember Thanksgiving looking into draft stuff because the season was over.
Doing mock drafts and things like that because we had clinched something else.
Yeah.
And the nice part is there is obviously this Chiefs game kicked off a crazy 4-game stretch with the Niners, Rams, and Lions. But then the end of the season is a nice cushion as well, because you get Pats, Jets, Pats. So if we can survive through this stretch, and let's say we only drop one in that stretch of these next 3 with these tough teams, and we end up somewhere where we're, now 11-3. And now you have those final games to finish the season where like 14-3 is absolutely in play. That's going to make a lot of things more pressure packed for the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are easier in between, but they finish Texans, Steelers, Broncos. So if we're finishing Pats, Jets, Pats, while they have Texans, Steelers, Broncos, and all we need is for them to drop one of those games and be tied with us for us to get the stretch, or maybe we need them to lose 2 out of that stretch if we drop one beforehand. But it just makes it a lot more dramatic. If they had won today, they would have had a huge cushion plus the tiebreaker. Now a lot of things are in play, and that's going to make the end of this really, really fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays out. Again, I don't think the Bills are playing their best football. I don't think we've seen the best of them yet. And we say it all the time. I don't want to see the best until after Christmas, but they've built up so much house money here with the lack of a competitor in the division that this is shaping up about as good as possible for the Bills. And hopefully they come out of the bye, find their groove here, and start playing their best football here late into December and give themselves a real chance, man. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, and for somebody in the chat was talking about the Steelers. The Steelers in their final stretch have the Bengals, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bengals. They have a lot of losable games in their stretch as well.
Yeah, that AFC North's going to beat the crap out of each other for the next month and a half.
Yep. All right. Any final thoughts for the people?
No, man. Enjoy this one, guys. Victory Monday is going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm excited to rip into this. This a lot of people, us included, wanted to make out this didn't matter, and ultimately, I think big picture might not. But this is fun. Beating the Chiefs, beating your arch nemesis, beating Mahomes, the national media. I'm going to have fun with this. So come have fun along with me. Follow Greg and I on all social media platforms, because it's going to be a fun celebrating Victory Monday here coming up.
Absolutely. I'm going to be jumping on later on. Maybe, I don't know if it'll be tonight. I might bump it to tomorrow night or one of the other nights here to do a kind of a Bills look ahead,
Yeah.
to go through some of those schedule things. I might actually bump it to now wait for this game and the Monday night game to be able to look at what that's going to look like. But we'll have some fun there, and we'll talk to you guys soon. We appreciate everything. If you're in here, please press that like button. It goes a long ways to help us out. Press the like button, give us a rating, give us a review, help us out with comments and YouTube with the algorithm. Just go in there, let us know what your favorite play of the game was, anything that you're looking for. But we appreciate you guys so much. On behalf of fantastic producer Chris Kepner and Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to the Cover One Buffalo podcast, and we are